Hey everybody, this is Tracy here to review Issa Rae's Insecure. It airs on HBO at 9 p.m. on Saturday nights. Okay, for some reason I decided I was going to do this review in my backyard, thinking that would be nice, peaceful. Um, Fall has entered the Florida area and the weather is just beautiful and nice, but there's like a lot going on around me. So if you hear any of that, then just know that, it's probably neighbors mowing their lawns, squirrels running up and down the tree, and other things that are taking place around me. So I do apologize if it interferes with the recording. At first I thought I might be a little too old to watch the show and wouldn't be able to get into it. But as I started watching it, it reminded me so much of my first novel, He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not. That book was actually released in 2008, but was written in the late 1990s, and it's just crazy to see that the same issues I was writing about then are still prevalent now when it comes to dating amongst African American women and just the culture that we're in. And I can only imagine that with technology and all of that, that dating has probably gotten about 100 times worse from back in the 90s when I was talking about it, and what Issa Rae is talking about on her show. Okay, so let's get started with the review. So Issa Rae plays a liaison for a nonprofit organization, and they're going into like a inner city middle school. I think the show is set in California, and they're trying to come up with a way to impact the lives of the students in a positive way, to expose them to different things. And so she's in the classroom and she's being introduced to the kids, and these kids are off the chain. They're talking about everything from, why do you talk like a white girl, why are you dressed that way, do you have a man, just totally inappropriate behavior. And my oldest daughter is actually a school teacher, and she probably could tell some stories about the inappropriate behavior that these hellions display once they're away from their parents and in school. And some of it is just piss poor parenting on people's parts. They're having kids, not raising them to be respectful, and then they get in environments where they're away from their parents and they think it's okay to just talk and act anyway. But that's a topic for another video. So let's get into the show. So the premise of Insecure, as I mentioned before, is about the death of dating for the black woman in America. And even though I'm 52, I know a little something about dating in America, and that is really not that fun, I guess, especially if you're a black woman, because the black man just doesn't seem to have that same appreciation for us that other races do. And so it gets a little tricky, but let's move on. So Issa's in a relationship with her live-in boyfriend, and I guess they've been together for several years, and his name is Lawrence, but I'm going to call him Mr. Potential, because he's that guy that sucks the life out of you with all of his hopes and dreams that never seem to get fulfilled. And I know personally I have a problem with getting up, going to work, and leaving somebody in my house that's not getting up, going to work, and contributing, but Issa seems to have put up with his behavior for quite some time. And so it's probably gone from a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship to they're basically just roommates. And guys that I consider Mr. Potential are people who, and it could be a woman too, there are some Mrs. Potentials out there too, but they'll suck the life out of you. They'll make you forget who you wanted to be and what you wanted to do. They'll rob you of your youth, and in essence they will kill any potential you have if you let them. And Issa seems to be coming to the realization that Lawrence really isn't that into getting his life together. So I love the chemistry between Issa and her best friend Molly. I think every girl needs that one friend that she can just talk shit about, talk shit to, and just reveal who she is, be totally 100% bare and naked in her emotions and her feelings. And they seem to have that type of chemistry. And but the only thing about having a friend like that is that you got to be ready for the feedback that they're going to give you about the crap and the life that you're living and the decisions that you're making. And when Issa told Molly that her coochie was broke, I thought I was going to just die on the sofa right then and there, because that was like keeping it real to the nth degree. So the thing about desperate single friends who are mourning their singleness is that they don't really understand when you become, like, if you're in a relationship and you're discontent with your relationship and you're trying to talk to them about your problems, then they don't really understand, and they think that you're just being picky and you should be happy that you have a man, you know, because they're looking at it from the lens that they don't have a man. And so they can't really understand or feel where you're coming from, and think that you just need to be a little more patient and work a little harder at bringing out of your mate, you know, what you're trying to get from them, opposed to saying, you know what, this isn't working in my life and I need to move on and get on with my life. And in the scenes where Molly is interacting with her co-worker, I can't remember if she was Asian or Hispanic, but she wasn't a black girl, and she is dating a black guy named Jamal. And so you can tell that Molly really has an issue, you know, with the interracial dating thing. And she was just, you know, putting her negative energy and her negative vibes, you know, about the relationship, because she's unhappy. I'm sure that if she was in a relationship and getting what she needed from the relationship, she probably wouldn't pay so much attention to the girl's relationship and wouldn't be as negative as she was. And so can we pause for a second to talk about this texting culture? Because in the scene with Molly, and I think her name was Diane, Molly, I think she had gone out with a guy, he was Arabian or something, and the guy texted her, but then Molly decided to call him. And when she called him, he didn't answer the telephone. And so the girl was telling her, Diane was telling her, oh, you need to text him back. And so then Molly, you know, she doesn't want to text. She's like, no, I want to hear his voice. And, you know, we need to communicate. But then when she texts him, the conversation leads to, like, he's really not that into her, and he didn't think that, you know, they were looking for anything serious together. So that just really made her feel, you know, that much lower as a single black woman, and listening to this woman talk about her relationship with the black guy. And so I think that, and I just wish women would understand that if a guy's mode of communicating with you is via text, then he probably isn't that into you, and you are wasting your time. Because I think even in today's society, men that are really liking a girl, really want to spend time with her, he's not going to be texting her. He is going to pick up the phone. And even if he's accustomed to texting, if you call, he's going to answer the phone. So back to Molly, you know, don't hate because a woman who does not look like you has a man that does look like you. Because I think guys that only date outside of their race, you know, who are not even interested in dating somebody who looks like their mother, their sister, the people that raised them, I think they have some other issues going on, and it's probably not the guy that you want to be with anyway. So you probably should thank that white woman for taking him off your hands, or taking him off the market, so that you don't mess around and get involved with him. Because trust me, I have dated that guy before, and it's very frustrating, and it takes a lot out of you. It's very draining. So be grateful that she took him off the market, and you won't have to deal with him somewhere down the road. So we're back to Issa, and it's her birthday. I think it's her 29th or 29th birthday. And she goes home, and I think her and Mr. Potential, they had plans to go to a concert or a show or something that night. But he's, you know, lounging on the sofa, feeling depressed about his life. And he tells her, you know, instead of going out, hair flying all in my mouth and everything, but he tells her, instead of going out, why don't they go get a red box? And I guess they were going to go to 7-Eleven to use the red box machine. But I'm just thinking, like, Negro, did you really just go there on her birthday? Yes, Issa, you really need to get rid of this bum. So let me ask you this: is it really cheating when you have a Mr. Potential at home who's not really doing anything, and you try to reconnect on social media with an ex-boyfriend who reminded you of when you didn't have this extra baggage weighing you down? I mean, I'm just asking, just wondering what your opinion is on that. So Issa and Molly meet for lunch, and Molly is telling her, you know, about the Arabian dude and how she got dumped via text. And then Issa makes a comment, you know, telling Molly that the reason she's having all these issues is because her coochie is broken. And I'm thinking, And I'm thinking, was that really nice for you to say that to your friend, you know, when she's down in the dumps? So when Issa made that statement to Molly, it really impacted her, because later on she brings it back up and she's like, Jesus gave me, you know, a broke coochie. And I'm thinking to myself, no, he didn't give you a broke coochie. You just can't be passing around like turkey on a platter during Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you got to be discreet, and you can't just go around sleeping with every guy that you meet. And especially if you're sleeping with him on the first or second date, you haven't even given him the opportunity to show you that he's a jerk. So, you know, it's just like slow your roll and just think more about yourself, and be, you know, have a little more discretion and a little more pride also, because something else is going on that you feel like you got to give yourself to every guy. And I know in this new era with women's liberation and feminism, you know, they tell you that it's okay to sleep with guys and to sleep around just like guys do, but it never really works out, and it only impacts your self-esteem, not their self-esteem. So Issa and Molly make plans to go to this club, and really what's happened is that Issa has reconnected on social media with a guy that she dated from high school, I think it was. And so she found out that he was going to be at this club, so then she pretended like she was taking Molly out, you know, to relax and have a good time. But, you know, she had set her up, and yes, your girlfriends will set you up when they're in a relationship and they're trying to tip out on their boyfriends. They will use you as the excuse, you know, the single girlfriend as an excuse to get out of the house and to get into the club. It was funny when they were walking up, and Molly, you know, she got jokes for days, and she was like, I can't believe you brought me to this 1990s Inglewood, you know, to go to this club. And so, you know, Molly was like, so Issa was like, you know, it wasn't that bad. And then Molly made a comment about, you know, who recommended this to you, those middle school Crips that you're working with. And, you know, it was wrong, but it was funny when she said that. And so they get into the club, and, you know, of course, Issa is looking around for Daniel, you know, who's the guy from high school. And so she hooks Molly up with some random guy in the club, and, you know, kind of pushes her off so she can go in search of Daniel. And I was just like, okay, Issa got game. She may be trapped in their relationship for the past 5 or 6 years, or however long she's been with Mr. No Potential. But she's got game for days. Oh, and one of the things that I love about the show is that Issa, you know, when she's in her feelings, she expresses them by going to the bathroom and looking in the mirror. And, you know, she starts rapping, you know, whatever she's thinking about, you know, she turns into like a little rap. And I think it's just cute, you know, that she uses that as a way to motivate herself, because, hey, if you don't motivate yourself, nobody else is going to motivate you. And then when they're in the club, Daniel actually tricks her into going up on the stage because it was open mic night. And so she goes up on the stage and she does a rap about the broke coochie. And of course, Molly, you know, she takes offense to it, and she thinks that Issa is rapping about her, and she actually says it out loud. And so the guy that she just met, you know, he looks at her like, okay, no thank you, you know, and he walks away from her. And so she's just standing there looking distraught, like, you know, how could Issa do that to her? And so Issa ends up going to meet Daniel, but then she realizes, you know, Daniel's full of crap, and he just wants her over there to have sex with her. And thank God she had sense enough, you know, not to do it. And so she goes back to Molly's house. And so there was a scene earlier when she was dropping Molly off, and Molly, you know, was going on and on about, you know, how could you embarrass me like that and talk about me in that rap? And she was insisting that she wasn't talking about Molly in the rap, and the whole while she's like texting and not really paying any attention. So Molly gets upset and goes inside. So now that Issa has gone and met with Daniel and realized that he was just trying to get in her drawers, she goes back to Molly's. And so when Molly opens the door, she's standing there with this bag of crunchy Cheetos and a jar that looks like it may have been ranch nacho dip, or, you know, the French onion dip for nachos. I don't know what it was, because they had the jar turned around and you couldn't read the brand. And all I could think was, okay, how many people are going to go run out and get some Cheetos and this dip, and just to see how that tastes? Because I know that's something I would do, but I haven't done it yet. So if I do, I'll come back and let you know how it tasted. Well, that's it for episode 1 of Insecure, and I want to encourage everyone, not just the ladies, but the guys too, do some soul searching and ask yourself if the person that you're with today is the same person that you want to be with 5 years from now, or if you see yourself in a different place 5 years from now with that person? And if the answer is no, then it's probably time to check out of that relationship. Don't waste 5 years, waiting to see if you're right or if you're wrong. If you're feeling that way today, then follow your instincts and start making your exit plan, because there's nothing worse than staying in a deadbeat relationship that isn't going anywhere and you lose yourself as a result of it. Peace, blessings, and possibly goodbye to Mr. Potential. Until the next time, subscribe, like, comment, share the video, and if you get a moment, check out my novel, He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not. It's available on Amazon.com and TracyLDarity.com. Take care. Bye-bye.